The housing market has flipped, and not just here in the Bay Area, but all over the country. And while buyers finally have more leverage, I'm still seeing people agree to things that can cost them big time. So today, I'm breaking down 15 things you should never agree to when buying a home, whether you're here in the Bay Area or anywhere else in the US. I've broken this down to 4 categories to make it easier to follow. Let's start with what I call the deal breakers. These are the things that can cost you big money or major headaches if you agree to them. Number 1, this one's a big one. Don't overpay just to win. Or maybe I should say, you don't need to overbid just to win anymore. Even in the competitive Bay Area market, overbidding by $50,000 to $100,000 isn't always necessary anymore. Strong terms like flexible closing costs or flexible dates or fewer contingencies can be just as attractive to the sellers. Finding out what the seller needs and wants can easily be the key to winning without overpaying. Here's something I'm noticing in my local market. Even with competition, some homes are not selling over asking. I was talking to a listing agent about a property my buyers were interested in. After the deadline for offers passed, I asked how it went. He told me that they had 4 offers and not one of them was over the asking price. All were just close to the list price. So don't assume you need to throw in an extra $100,000. Let the data and the situation guide you. Number 2, there's no need to waive home inspections anymore. Hey look, gone are the days of waiving inspections just to get the house. You can certainly shorten the timelines or focus on the most important areas like the mechanical systems and the health and safety issues, but giving them up entirely is no longer the norm. Again, in my local market, I'm starting to see inspection contingencies come back. And not only that, if the inspector says something needs to be inspected by a specialist and have a closer look at it, sellers aren't automatically shutting that down anymore. I've recently had buyers bring in an electrician after the general inspection and the sellers allowed it. That was almost unheard of the past couple of years. The bottom line is you have more leverage now to protect yourself. Use it. Number 3, in the Bay Area, pre-inspections are the norm. Sellers will often provide a home, termite, and roof inspection up front, and buyers are expected to review and approve them before making an offer. But here's the thing. Review and approve is basically code for buying the home as is. That used to also mean no more negotiations. But now, you can still negotiate if there's something major in the report, or even if it's not major. Roof issues, plumbing problems, electrical hazards, you can ask for a repair or credit. Just because a report is handed to you doesn't mean you have to eat the cost. Again, not anymore. Number 4, don't rely on an old survey. This one's more for the buyers purchasing land or in rural areas. Property lines matter, and an old survey from, let's say, 5-10 years ago might not reflect the current boundaries or fences or easements. I have a client here in Castro Valley who owns 100 acres. The property and the surrounding parcels owned by his relatives have been in their family for generations. One day, he noticed that the boundary marker on his property and his relative's property seems off.
Something's different.
Sure enough, after reviewing the survey, he discovered an error that had been there for decades, but everyone just accepted the boundary because that's what had always been there. Getting a new survey can save you from a costly property line dispute, even one that's been quietly sitting there for years. Alright, moving on to the second category. These are the things that can sneak into your offer or agreement and cause you problems later on if you're not paying attention. Number 5, don't sign a sale contingency without a time limit. A sale contingency is when the seller has to find another place to live before your purchase can close. Now, that's all fine, but without a deadline, you could be stuck waiting for months while they shop around. Or worse, 2 months down the line, they tell you, we couldn't find a place.
Is off.
And now you've wasted 2 months and have to restart your search all over again. Here's what I recommend. Put a specific date in the contract that says the seller must be under contract to buy their new home by that deadline or you can walk away. 2 to 3 weeks is kind of the norm here in the Bay Area. Check with the local agent to see what's typical in your market. Before we get into number 6, if you're thinking about buying a home in the Bay Area, I've put together a short guide called 7 Mistakes First-Time Home Buyers Make. It's a quick read but will help you avoid some of the most common and costly pitfalls. The link is in the description. Grab it after you finish watching this video. Number 6, never rely on verbal agreements. This one is really a pet peeve of mine. I have realtors who will call me on my listings and throw out all these what if scenarios. What if the seller does this? What if they leave that? What if they fix this? And my answer is always the same. None of that matters unless it's in writing. If the seller says they'll leave the patio set, fix the fence, or throw in the fridge, that's nice.
Only if it's submitted in writing.
There was a buyer that bought one of my listings and they did not include the washer and dryer on their offer. Guess what? They were so upset when they did the walkthrough and the washer and dryer weren't there. I had to tell their agent, you did not write it in the contract, so you need to explain to your clients why. Again, simple solution. Put everything in writing separate from the main purchase contract if necessary and have both parties sign it. That way there's no confusion, no he said, she said, and no disappointment at the end. Number 7, don't make an offer without seeing a property in person. I know it sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised this still happens. Photos can be deceiving. The wide angle lens can make a small room look huge, or that quiet street might have constant traffic noise. If you're out of the area, send someone you trust, your agent, a friend, or a family member to check it out for you. At the very least, do a video walkthrough. Just don't commit blind. Number 8, don't work with an agent without a buyer representation agreement. These agreements aren't just nice to have anymore. They're the new rules. They spell out exactly what you and your agent have agreed to, how they get paid, and what their responsibilities are. For you as the buyer, it's protection. It ensures you know exactly what you're committing to, and it gives you proof if you ever need to show the seller what your arrangement is, especially if you're asking them to cover part or all of the commission. Without it, you're going in blind. Next category, I call this the closing and move-in risk. Number 9, never skip the final walkthrough. This is your last chance to make sure the home is in the same condition as when you made the offer and any agreed repairs were done. Remember that washer and dryer example from earlier? If that buyer hadn't done the walkthrough, it could have been a much bigger issue at the end. We eventually fixed it, but catching it before closing made all the difference. That's why this step is non-negotiable. Number 10, never let the seller stay in the home after closing without a written agreement. Actually, this also goes for the buyers. Never ever let a buyer move in their stuff or do anything to the house prior to closing without a written agreement. If the seller needs extra time after closing, that's fine, but
only if it's submitted in writing.
This is called a lease back or a rent back. It should spell out how long they will stay, how much they will pay, and include a security deposit. Without that, you're risking delays, damage, or even a situation where they refuse to leave. Same thing for letting a buyer move in early. If something goes wrong and the sale doesn't close, you could end up with a squatter problem. Protect yourself with clear terms before anyone gets access. Number 11, don't ignore HOA rules and fees. If the home is in an HOA, you need to do more than just check the monthly dues. You have to dig into the rules and regulations and CC&Rs. These documents spell out exactly what you can and can't do with your property. Some HOAs can be surprisingly strict, from the paint color on your front door, whether you can park an RV in your driveway or rent out your home. Review them carefully before you make an offer so you don't end up with an expensive surprise or restrictions you can't live with. Okay, our final category, these are more like extra tips for buyers. Number 12, never overlook the neighborhood at different times of the day. Before you make an offer, go there at different times to see what it's like. Go there at night and walk the neighborhood. If you can, Talk to the neighbors. They'll often tell you things you won't find in the listing, like parking issues, noise, or safety concerns. Number 13, don't skip checking flood, fire, or other insurance risk. Before you make an offer, find out if the home is in a flood zone or a high fire hazard area and get an idea of what the insurance cost will be. Here in the Bay Area, some fire zones have sky-high premiums or limited coverage options. You don't want to get into a contract and then find out the insurance will blow up your budget. Number 14, don't let the seller handle major repairs without oversight. If the seller agrees to fix something, make sure it's done by a licensed professional and that you get receipts or proof of work. In my experience, sometimes when you do not supervise the work being done, the reality is some of these workers are not doing quality work. You don't want Uncle Bob, patching up the roof or doing electrical work just to get to closing. Clear standards in writing protect you from shoddy work that could cost you more later on. And finally, number 15, don't forget to budget for the other stuff. I'm talking about moving costs or maybe new furniture when you move in. Things like that. The reality is, it's not just your down payment, your closing costs, and reserves that you need to plan for. There are costs to move and also once you're moved in. Setting up utilities, small repairs, maybe replacing appliances. All those things can add up quickly if you haven't planned for them. And there you have it, 15 things home buyers should never agree to in this market. Whether you're here in the Bay Area or anywhere else in the country, these tips will help you avoid costly mistakes and headaches down the road. If you're thinking about buying a home in the Bay Area, grab my free guide, 7 Mistakes First-Time Home Buyers Make. Again, it's a short read, but it will help you avoid some of the most common pitfalls I see buyers make. The link is in the description. Hey, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.